Welcome back to our 5 Steps for Reading Success series. I'm so glad you're here. We have already covered the overview of the 5 steps, and we've covered step number 1, which is oral language. Today's episode is going to be covering step number 2. I'm going to tell you all about phonological and phonemic awareness, what it is, why it's important, and I'm going to give you some really easy ways that you can practice this with your child. In case you're new here, my name is Erin. I'm from littleselflearning.com. I'm a former classroom teacher, and now I spend my days helping parents teach their kids to read at home. I see this gap in information between what parents know about teaching reading and what parents need to know about teaching reading in order to make sure their child is successful. So I am here to help you fill that gap. You don't need a degree in education. You don't need experience as a teacher to teach your child to read, to support them on their reading journey. I am here to give you all the information you need, and you will be able to do this, I promise. So let me remind you what the 5 Steps for Reading Success freebie looks like. We've already covered step number 1, oral language, and today we are working on step number 2, phonological and phonemic awareness. If you haven't grabbed this yet, I'm going to leave the link down below. Just click on the link, enter your information, and it will be emailed directly to you. That way you understand more about each of these steps, what they are, why they're important, and how you can practice them with your child. So let's dive into step number 2. To me, phonological awareness and phonemic awareness is the key to reading success. This is usually the missing link. If a child is struggling with reading, this is where we want to look at. How are they doing with their phonological awareness and phonemic awareness skills? And the reason I think it's the missing link is because so many parents don't know about it, and there are even teachers who don't know about it. And so once we can spread this information far and wide and more parents are comfortable with this topic and they're able to understand what it means and how to teach it, I think it's going to have a ripple effect, a positive ripple effect on our kids learning how to read. So pay really close attention to this one. Phonological awareness is the ability to hear and manipulate the sounds in spoken language. It's a really big term, but it's really simple when we break it down. I have this page here. It's actually from my Phonological Awareness ebook. I will link it down below if you're interested. But phonological awareness is this big umbrella term because we're talking about understanding the sounds in our spoken language. But we break it up into 2 different sections. We have phonological sensitivity, and those are the bigger pieces of language. So being able to hear and manipulate words, syllables, and rhymes. So we focus a lot on this in preschool and pre-K. I'm sure if your child is of that age, 3 or 4 or 5, and they're in preschool, they might come home singing rhyming songs or talking about syllables. That's what we really want to work on because we want them to hear those bigger chunks of language. That's phonological sensitivity. But over here, we have another term, phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is being able to hear and manipulate the individual spoken sounds of our language. Now in English, we have about 44 individual sounds, about 44 phonemes. So we only have 26 letters, but we have 44 phonemes, which is why it gets tricky. We don't have a one-to-one match. Phonemic awareness is the key to reading success. We absolutely want our children to work on their phonological sensitivity, knowing words and syllables and rhymes, but the most important area that we want them to focus on is the phonemic awareness because this is what creates a reader. It's being able to blend individual phonemes to read, and it's being able to segment or break apart individual phonemes in order to spell. Now, underneath phonemic awareness, we have different activities that we want them to do. We start with isolation. Can they tell me the beginning sound of a word? Not the letter, but the beginning sound. Then we move up to blending. So without looking at any letters, can they blend the sounds of a word together to tell me the word? So for example, if I said, t, do they know the word was mat? We want them to do it orally first. We're not talking about letters yet. Segmentation is the opposite of blending. So if I said mat, can they break it up into the 3 sounds? We usually say, let's tap it out. Mat. We want them to break up the word into its sounds. That's what's going to help them with their spelling. Then we have ways that we can manipulate the sounds in our spoken language. So we can start with addition. So I could say to a child, say at. They would say at. Then I could say at, but add b at the beginning. What's my new word? And I want them to say bat, being able to add the b before the at. Or deletion, which is the opposite, I'm going to take a sound away. So I could say orally to a child, all right, say cat. They could say cat. Say cat without k. So I want them to take that first sound away, and they would say at. That's deletion. And then substitution, that's when I'm asking them to change a sound in a word. So I might say sit. They would say sit. I would say sit, but change s to b. So I want them to change that first sound s in sit to b, bit. I want them to tell me the new word is bit. So that's manipulation. That's being able to take the sounds of our language and do something with them. Add a sound, delete a sound, move sounds around. That is all part of phonemic awareness. Now again, the most important parts are going to be blending and segmenting because that's going to help our child to read and to spell. But there are so many parts of phonemic awareness that we can work on that is going to help our child become a strong reader. So again, this is part of my Phonological Awareness ebook. I will link it down below. Now you might be thinking, okay, Erin, I get it. We need to work on the sounds of language first. We're not introducing letters yet. We're just talking about those sounds for phonological and phonemic awareness. But how in the world am I supposed to practice these with my child? I totally get it. I used to practice these games, phonological and phonemic awareness games, with my son when he was in preschool. We would do it every day during lunch, and I had the hardest time coming up with words and activities for him. I would just look out the window and start trying to think, oh, tell me the first sound in bird. Or can you tell me a word that rhymes with gate if I saw the gate outside? I was just kind of looking around me to see what I could use for my words to help him practice these skills. But I don't want you to have to do that because trust me, it was not fun always trying to rack my brain for new words. So what I did was I created phonological and phonemic awareness games that you can just print out very simply, and they go along with different seasons and different holidays. So for example, this is the summer games. So all you would do is print this out, and you have games that you can ask your child every day of the week, and they are broken up into those different levels. We have phonological sensitivity games, so talking about words and syllables and rhymes, and we also have phonemic awareness games. So let me just do a couple as an example for you. You would print this out. You could put it in your bag, keep it in your car, keep it in the kitchen when your child is eating. You pull it out and you can simply practice a few activities with them. So maybe, for example, for word awareness, you go to Monday and you say, okay, little one, how many words are in my sentence? Summer is fun. So you'd want them to count. Summer is fun. That's 3 words. They don't need any supplies for this. This is all oral, so you can do it on the go. That's what's so great about these. Or maybe you come down to the syllable section and you ask them, can you tell me how many syllables are in the word summer? And you want them to be able to hear summer. It's 2 syllables because it has 2 vowel sounds. That's what makes a syllable. We also have syllable addition, so you could say to your little one, say rain. They would say rain. And you'd say rain, then add coat. And they would say raincoat. So you're helping them to add syllables. That could be a fun game. You can ask them to produce a rhyming word. So you might say to them, can you give me a word that rhymes with spring? And maybe they would say ring or fling, or maybe they'd make up a nonsense word, which is totally fine as long as it rhymes. Then we also have some segmenting, some pulling out the beginning sound. So maybe you ask them, what's the beginning sound in summer? S. It's not S, that's the name of the letter, but the beginning sound of summer is S. So all you did was print this out, and now you have these games that you can ask them that are building those connections in their brain. They're so key. Or maybe you ask them, I'm going to give you 3 words. Can you tell me the word that doesn't belong? You could say gate, gift, sister. Which one doesn't belong? You want them to say sister because it has a different beginning sound. So that's a really great one. And then, of course, asking them to isolate the sound. We did beginning. We can also do ending sound. What's the last sound in the word bat? They could say t, not t, t. They're doing those sounds. Or maybe they're ready to start segmenting, breaking up the sounds in the word. So you could ask them, what are all of the sounds in the word bat? We like to tap them out. B, a, t, bat. It has 3 sounds. So you're helping them to hear those individual sounds. Or maybe they're ready to do some manipulation. You could say to them, say ent. They would say ent. Say ent and add w at the beginning. What's your new word? Well, ent, went, went. My new word is went. It seems super easy for us as adults to play these games, but I promise you when you first start with your child, it's like a whole new language for them. They really struggle because they haven't been trained. Our brains are not born with the ability to make these connections. We have to train our brains and make these new connections so that our child is able to read and to spell. So these games are the perfect way to do that. I'm going to leave the link down below. Like I said, I have games for every season. I also have games for every holiday. So you can simply pick the ones you want, print them out, put them in your car, put them in the kitchen, keep them handy so that you can work just a few minutes at a time on these skills. And if your child can't do it on their own right away, you start by modeling, then have your child do it with you, and then eventually they'll be able to do it on their own. Now it's time for your homework, your phonological and phonemic awareness homework. I don't want you to just learn about this topic. I want you to implement and take actionable steps, work with your child at home so that they are able to develop these skills. So your homework for tonight. What I'd like you to do is head to the link down below and download this free phonological awareness guide, totally free. It's going to give you the overview of phonological and phonemic awareness, and it's going to give you the different levels of how you can practice. I want you to commit to practicing 5 minutes a day for a week. That's it. Nothing more than that. It doesn't even have to be 5 minutes all at once. Maybe you only get 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, and a minute before bed. That's okay too. Try to commit to practicing for 5 minutes a day. And if you are not sure what words to use with your child or what skills you should be working on, should you be trying syllables or rhymes or individual sounds, that phonemic awareness, then please check out the games I have listed below. These games go along with different seasons and different holidays. They're super easy to print and go so that you don't have to come up with the words on your own. If you do want to come up with the words on your own, that's totally fine as well. But I just want you to commit to 5 minutes a day, every day for this week. See how it goes. I guarantee if your child is struggling at the beginning of the week, trying to understand this new skill, that if you keep practicing it every day, they are going to get better and better at it. So make sure you take action. You're not just watching this information or listening to this information, you are doing something with it in order to help your child improve their skills. I hope this information was helpful for you today. So now in our series, we've covered oral language, and today we covered phonological and phonemic awareness. Make sure you grab this freebie if you haven't yet, the 5 Steps for Reading Success, because next week we are going to be diving into level 3, which is letter knowledge. So you want to make sure that you are following along in your freebie with all of these steps and implementing them, taking action on them with your child in order to improve their reading skills. If you have any questions about this or anything else I share on my channel, please don't hesitate to ask. You can comment down below, or you can find me on my website, littleslovelearning.com. I'm also super active on social media, so please reach out on Instagram or Facebook at littleslovelearningblog. I'll be sure to get back with you if you have any specific questions about your child or understanding this information. I would love to clarify it for you. My goal is to make this as easy and simple and painless as possible in order for your child to learn how to read so that they can feel that success, feel that confidence when they walk into class, and they already know these skills. I know you can do it. Reach out if you have any questions. Until next time, happy learning. Bye.